A student leader from Makerere University. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to have the opportunity to be hosted once again on UBC TV.
Well, thank you very much. Next to him is Tumurami Bosco Praise, who is actually a student leader also from Kampala International University. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mande Okor. I'm humbled being hosted on UBC tonight.
Yeah, next to him is the only lady, Nkahirwa Cynthia, from St. Joseph Mbarara. You're welcome. University of St. Joseph Mbarara, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me.
And lastly, we have Toshawomwe Leonard, who's actually from Kampala University. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'm
yes,
happy to be hosted here.
To kickstart the discussion, I'll begin with Dixon. Yes, let's look at how prepared are you, first of all, at individual level, and then you'll also look at your colleagues. How prepared are you now that universities, tertiary institutions are set to open?
Thank you so much. Once again, I'm happy to have the opportunity to be here and to cast a spotlight on this. When Mahatma Gandhi, together with India, had just defeated coloniality, they asked him, out of more than 20 things that the country was facing, so many difficulties, and they asked him, where are you going to start from? India. So he said, I'm going to start on 3 things, basically. 1, education. 2, education. 3, education. Education, education, and education. Nelson Mandela, I think, is the greatest African human being, also said that it is through education that a son of a peasant can become a head of state. That education is better than a presidential convoy. And that education is the most powerful weapon one can use to change the world. So at an individual level, before I look at myself, I look at the entire spectrum of education. For Makere's case, students are just finalizing exams. They're continuing students. The medical students are on campus, undertaking physical classes. And also final students, the finalists, are preparing to resume in November. But generally, schools are supposed to open in January. Here I'm saying that we are looking at 15 million school-going children across the country. That is the future of the country. It's the future of East Africa and the future of the continent. So the preparation should be at the individual level as we prepare to open, because there is no family that has not been hit or attacked by COVID-19 situation. So in this particular case, as we prepare to open, 1, the families should be prepared, should get ready.
Well, before we get to the families, thank you very much, Dixon. Maybe if I can move to Bosco Praise. Paint for us the picture at Kampala International University. How is it so far?
Thank you very much, Monday, for hosting me tonight. Ever since we went lockdown, I'm very happy with the second best university in Uganda and the leading private university in the country, Kampala International University. We did exams online and we had to resume school. As I talk right now, we have been having lectures online and we are pushing the base. And I really know that the institution is really prepared to make sure that we resume, because they have really the stakeholders of the university and the leaders of the institution. At least we are in touch and we are making sure that we organize all what is possible to make sure that students report.
Well, thank you, Bosco. Cynthia, yes, from University of St. Joseph Mbarara. Yes, the only lady. How is it in Mbarara, and how paint a picture for us at university? What is
Yeah.
going on now as we prepare to have schools, tertiary institutions, and universities open?
Yeah, thank you so much, the host tonight. According to Mbarara and specifically my university, we have been studying online like the specifications were given. So the students have really tried their best to do the online studying. We have also done the online exams, which I think it was a bit hectic. So I have a feeling that when the schools open and the students go back to schools and they get back to the normal studying, which we call the physical studying, things will be good and students will be ready and willing to have more education like they have always had it. Thank you.
Yes, lastly, Leonard, Kampala University, how is it?
Yeah, at Kampala University, the original, we were blessed that the lockdown came just days after we have finished our end of semester exams and we went into lockdown. Challenges came that we are supposed to have internship, some students have internship, but they did not go. But some who managed to go who were in the other courses, for example, computer science, but for education, because the system was cut off, students never had a chance to go for their school practices. But as per now, the university is progressing. We started online 15th of last month, and we are progressing with this new era of studying, and we have to embrace online because we never know when this pandemic is ending.
Well, the pandemic is here with us to stay. We only have to manage it, just like we've managed other diseases, of course, like AIDS, like cancer, like diabetes, hypertension. There are a number of actually fatal diseases that we've managed as Uganda, and Uganda has quite a good record in managing and handling such pandemics or epidemics. Now, let's come to Dixon, because now we want to look at issues, the underlying issues that perhaps universities, government, and other stakeholders should address from the student point of view as we plan to open.
Thank you. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, because like I was saying, first of all, opening schools or reopening schools means that the families must support the students. That is point one. Two, the universities or institutions must be ready to receive the students. Number three, the students themselves must be ready, psychologically and also health-wise. The first point was, we first be safe. The schools close, we first be safe. Now we have been at home. And in any case, universities, like you have heard, all of us have been embracing the online. But there are still underlying issues. For example, I can say not all universities across the country have strong online infrastructure. You get what I'm saying? So we know that this is not, honestly, this cannot be the last malignant disease, or even the virus, or even the lockdown. Anything can happen after 7 or 10 years. So the universities need to use this period to strengthen the e-learning infrastructure, such that in case of anything, in case of the lockdown, in case of any problem, we are able to do that. But also, we are talking of structure, the infrastructure at the universities, different universities. We're talking of halls of residence. For example, Makerere University, we cannot say that is what we want. The pace and the status of halls of residence, where students, 15% of the students stay, needs to be worked on, and in the proper sense of the word, because These are some of the things we have been talking about, and we believe that management should use this period when students are out to make sure the infrastructure is ready to receive the students. One, work on the online infrastructure. Two, the structures, the physical structures, the buildings, the instructions, the classrooms and everything to be ready to receive the students. But also, it is not true that when in Uganda, it is not true that when students return, lectures are always ready. You know, they have their issues. I can't speak for teachers, but we understand that a time will come and lecturers will say, we don't want to. So we request.
Let us not be prophets of doom,
Yes.
and let us not speak for the lecturers. Of course, we shall have time to invite them.
But we want that to be done also, so that when we come,
Yes.
everything is set and we start studying.
That's good. Let's go. Bosco Praise. Of course, he has Dixon talks about building capacities. That it's time to strengthen the online teaching alongside strengthen, of course, the physical learning. Now let's look at KIU. Of course, when being one of the big private university, it attracts many students from within and without the country. So how are these students? How are the students preparing to report? And you as student leaders, how are you preparing to receive your fellow students so that learning can go on without necessarily being a center of spreading COVID-19?
Yeah, thank you very much. KI being the leading private university in Uganda and obviously East Africa, it is always ready at any time and every point of view to make sure that we have the very best basics within the institution. One, before we went for lockdown, and even right now when we're in lockdown, the president has always said that we should follow the SOPs that are provided by him and the Ministry of Health. And perhaps our university has been one of the outstanding universities that really enforce. I implore every other institution, not only KIU, to make sure that as we prepare for the opening of institutions, we have the task force team that shall make sure that at least we have people who can enforce the SOPs. You know, students or institutions of learning or universities, as you can mention, it is a center of access where we meet and from different places. For example, KIU being an international university who have students from Rwanda and other countries abroad. So some of whom will not maintain the procedures that are really provided by probably the ministry, but we have to have set up teams that can really enforce by, for example, making sure that students, by the time they are entering the university, they have masks on their faces. And not only that, like the president has already said, we should make sure that we enforce the medication, taking the medication of the COVID-19, and making sure that at least in the institution we have washing points where every other student, because not that every other student will think about buying sanitizer, but if we have that genetic task force team, we can really make sure that we end it there. Then another thing, as we'll come back students from different places of the country and homes, we have to make sure that as a student, you before the institution, at least you are prepared to make sure that you can stay with COVID, because we cannot keep in lockdown for over years. We have to think about how best can we stay with COVID and push up the very best.
Definitely the way forward is to see how do we live and fight COVID as we are going on with our normal businesses. Now, since you are the only lady in the house or in the room, because the ladies have actually quite unique challenges, I can tell you this confidently that 30% of your colleagues are either baking babies, they're either cohabiting or are married, and now schools are reopening. How are the girls, how are the ladies preparing to report amidst all these challenges?
Yeah, thank you so much, our host tonight. Thank you so much, our host tonight. The ladies that are there outside, of course, we have unfortunately faced a challenge of most of our ladies getting into early pregnancies, and maybe others are unable to come back to schools, which I think is a big challenge. But
Of course, unlike secondary schools, at tertiary level, one can study while they are pregnant, not so. One can study even when they have, they can actually, we know during our time we used to call them interns. Yes, they can go with the interns to their lecture rooms, maybe save for the time perhaps they're going to deliver. But how you as a student leader who is a female, how are you prepared really to push for your agenda? So that, yes, this is the reality that we are going to live with, and this is actually a very, very huge reality that is going to come up come November.
Yeah, thank you so much. Me, I think those ladies should not be left behind, however much they are in primary or secondary or what, because this is a challenge that came, and of course we know that the reason as why maybe they are becoming pregnant at secondary level, primary level. It used not to be like that, but since it has happened just because of the pandemic, those students shouldn't be neglected. Their parents should just give them some hope, and the school should also accept or allow them the way they are, and they allow them also get access to education and study up to when they finish. Me, I think those students shouldn't be neglected just because they gave birth or they are pregnant or what. They are supposed to be given, or the school should put some measures, and they see how best they can maintain those students. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonard, you come from Kampala University, where you realize that a number of students commute from home to go and attend classes. A number of students actually are even paying for themselves. So how are you addressing this? Because you see the fares have actually more than doubled. Some of the students, whatever they were doing to pay for their tuition, of course, COVID has really destroyed their sources of income. So as student leaders, how do you push for their agenda? How do you help them out so that the administration and other stakeholders can look into this challenge?
Yeah. First of all, Mr. Moderator, these are the students that we are dealing with. Students whose mentality has shifted. They were students, but now we are dealing with other people. Students have gone to make money. So there are things we want to bring at Kampala University, the original. First of all, these people, students, need guidance and counseling to bring them back to the environment of education. People are in markets, these students are in markets, they are in the village suffering. Most of them have been sexually harassed, domestic violence, harassed by their stepmothers, those who have, and even the financial constraints, the pocket have been hit so much.
But these days the reverse is true. Also students can harass their step-parents. Yes.
But to a lesser extent.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what we are trying to do as students at Kampala University, the original. We are trying to push with the administration, at least they should, at least. No, last days they were that you have to enter the university when you have paid 50% of the tuition. But now we are negotiating with the university, at least let them allow students to enter with what they can do, what they can afford to pay. Then these articles in the constitutions of deadline that when you have not paid 80% of the tuition, you are not allowed to register.
Or sit for exams.
Yeah, or you will not sit for exams. So we are trying to push with the administration such that they can at least release those articles. You know, we are dealing with a very, very hit society, and the students, as well as the lecturers and the university, all we have been hit by this COVID-19. And what we have to do first, we should put guidance and counseling at all levels, the administration, the students, and the lecturers. For example, you are talking about these ladies that they are pregnant. They can reach at the university and they get bullied. So we have to really guide the other students how they can cope up with these people that have got those challenges while in lockdown.
Well, thank you very much, Dixon, because I can see you're glad in a yellow movement T-shirt. And if you had the opportunity to talk to the Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Janet Katam-Seven, the First Lady, what recovery measures, what recovery plans would you wish to share with her in terms of aiding students so that perhaps in her next communication, or perhaps as she is meeting other stakeholders, she can perhaps share it with them for purposes of seeing students report to universities and going on with their studies as it was before?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate the previous speakers. One, in my opinion, as an individual, but also as a student leader, we don't honestly expect 100% of the students to report, or the 15 million children, students to report. One, because of the finance and tuition. It is true that many businesses
you don't expect students to report 100%.
Absolutely,
but you should be.
Absolutely, that's what I'm coming. That's what I'm coming to. Yes, that's what I'm coming
at
to.
this particular time.
Yes, the students that will, you see, to capacitate almost all students to return, there must be a plan that simplifies the issue of finance and tuition.
And what is that plan?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We can say students can report, then fares, the tuition can, for example, be catered for by the government of Uganda. That is one. And honestly, it is a very, very, very honest opinion in a sense that we have some students who pay tuition for themselves. You are aware of that. And I can say maybe they have not been working. So in this case, when schools open, are they able to return or report? Not. If they can't, is it okay for the government or maybe to pay a half or even pay for them?
But also, government will say that the students must adduce evidence that we are not able to pay.
Absolutely, it can be there. It can be there. Then also, the other recovery plan is that not to accept another lockdown. Schools must be ready. And the Ministry of Education needs to ensure that schools indeed are ready. Readiness means that a student enters the entrance of the school, the gate of the school, he's checked before class, he enters class, he's checked before he goes to the hall of residence, he's checked the hostels, they are checked, and also the kind of distancing, the operationalization of SOPs must be in order. If they are not, like you said at the beginning, institutions are centers of COVID-19 because they harbor a lot of people from different walks of life, and therefore a very, 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 very strict program must be implemented to avoid another lockdown. Otherwise, we will return after 3 months. You hear so many cases in different universities. They say we have closed again. But also the issue of vaccination. I implore all students, fellow students that are watching me now, whatever university, kindly go and vaccinate.
Yeah, thank you very much. Kindly go and vaccinate. That is if we have the chance, because the government is actually working around the clock to ensure that we have the vaccines for everyone. Now, let's get to Bosco Praise, because you come from a private. Of course, I understand Dixon's argument. He comes from a public university. Public university, it's possible that they can say, let us pay for it. The government can pay because that is their institution. But a private university, how should they help students? How should they work around the clock? Because remember, a private university depends solely or to a great percent, to a great extent, on the tuition collection from students. So now, how should the private universities perhaps help students report with or without money, vis-a-vis also having the students get the services they need?
Thank you very much, the moderator. And I like the argument of the colleague that government should at least think about supporting students who have been affected completely by the lockdown. in quotes, if all students report back to school, they all belong to the nation, which is Uganda. So that should not be, Sujui, this is a government institution, this is a private institution.
No, and I know he was also clear that all students. But what I was just trying to bring it in, that his university being a public university is possible, but your university being a private university, I mean, the arrangement may not be as easy as it should be with the public university.
Well, as we go to the private setting of the institutions, obviously they are privately owned by some investors. So the only thing I would request universities which are private is to make sure that they minimize on functional fees that are, and some tuition, and they give them fares at least. For example, at like the colleague said, that if they have not paid the 80%, they are not allowed to register. Then I would now request that such kind of institutions, at least they should minimize on some of the terms that they had set before. At least they allow students to study and give them some good time to pay. For example, some universities really say that if you have not paid 50% of the tuition, if you have not paid the 50% of the tuition, then you are not supposed to do cuts. That is the assessment tests. I would request that such kind of institutions, at least they should know that the pandemic has completely affected each one of us within this time that we have been in.
Well, thank you, Bosco Praise. Now, yes, Cynthia, of course, Cynthia being the only lady, just as we had earlier hinted on the fact that we shall have, of course, those coming when they are either heavily pregnant, either breastfeeding. Should we, with interns, should we think of compelling universities to set aside breastfeeding corners? Yes.
Of course, if it is possible, they should. Because me, I'm seeing on the institutions putting all the measures, whatever they can, to make sure those students are not left behind. If it is to give them some time to maybe look after their kids, if it is maybe to give them some time to some favors, but they should be favored in a certain way that they are maintained in schools. Yes.
Well, thank you. Yes, Leonard. Now let's look at the lifestyle of students. You know, when students go to universities, this pomp, you want to go to a club in the evening, you want to go out with your girlfriend, you want to go out with your colleagues, picnic. So let's look at the lifestyle, because definitely this is a new normal. It's not business as usual. How should students change their way of doing things so that they don't actually become agents of COVID-19?
Okay, thank you much, Mr. Moderator. All we have to believe and accept that we are in a pandemic, and this virus is affecting the whole world. As you have said last time, we used to go to clubs, we used to attend parties, birthday.
Yeah, of course. What he's saying, that is the reality.
It's a reality.
University is about going to lectures. From lectures, you're going to associations, and especially welcoming the new ones, orientation, a number of activities. Yes. Yes. Leonard.
So, we are in a pandemic. Now what I was going to say is, we have to prioritize. First thing is first, education. Let us first know why we are at the university. Then other things will come later. We were home. We are not allowed to go and party, go and do what you're supposed to do. Now we are given a chance to come back to the university. Now, first of all, the institution is looked at to be the center for the COVID-19, that is where we are coming, because we expect a number of students to be gathered in one place. What I'm calling to these students that are watching, Let us try to observe the SOPs. Let us keep our masks on. Like in Kampala, they say that if you don't know a person, just know that this one is a safe, once take your property or the phone or the what. So likewise here, with this pandemic, if we don't want to go, if we wish not to go to lockdown, that let us be vigilant on one another. If you are not putting on a mask, tell him or her to put a mask or should leave the company. Okay. Well, so we should, what I'm trying to say is we should observe the SOPs, yes, and the presidential directives. Yeah, observing SOPs and the presidential directives. Now let's look at your roles as student leaders. How are you prepared to enforce the SOPs? I begin with Dixon.
Thank you. I understand there is, for our case, Makerere University COVID-19 task force. Also, we have the interim guild leadership. Number two, we have leadership at school level, the students, the school. We have leadership at college level. Mm-hmm. We have the leadership at the hall level where students sleep, and also at the university council and management level. So usually these leaders collaborate and work in consonance with the administration and management, mm-hmm, and also the non-teaching staff and support staff to ensure, one, that SOPs are operationalized. Number two, to provide information. For example, in case you look at someone, the temperature and maybe the health has changed, you have to communicate to the leadership. The leadership also communicates to the task force to make sure there is balanced and organized living. But also, we have the issue of students who stay outside. They come, they attend, they leave campus. They go to their, so it is it is always very delicate. It is a delicate situation. But usually what is done is that leaders ensure that, for example, at campus, they had banned these associations, the gatherings of associations. For example, you say Rukunjiri University students, they are over 1,000. You get, then sports. Some of these things have to be minimized. Then at the entrances, Makerere University has got more than 8 sutures, lines of weakness. They are manned not only by leaders or students leaders, but also by security. Because it is not true that almost each and every Ugandan adheres to rules and procedures. So security, before you come in, they check, you wash hands, you enter the university. Before you go to class, they check you, then you put on a mask, get in class and sit. Well, thank you. Bosco praise. Students are known for being defiant. Yes, actually, I think they treasure in doing things the wrong way. When you tell them do this, they treasure in doing it the other way around. Yes. Let's look at you as student leaders. How are you going to prevail on your students so they should know that, look here, this is not the old normal, but it is a new normal. Yes.
I have a colleague called Violence Apana, and he's against people who are violent. So I think where you are, you understand it. So onto that, you know, COVID-19, it is something that kills. But someone will think that when they are enforcing the SOPs within the limitations of the institution, then there is maybe they are forcing him to do something pro the institution, what it needs. For some colleagues that have suffered from COVID-19, I think they have testimonies that they have always given out. I would inform every other student, every other youth, every other kind of a personnel, even if the lecturer, the stakeholders, the management of different universities, that irrespective of following the SOPs, the directives given by the president of the country, we should know that we are following those SOPs pro our own lives. So we should not be violent on the SOP's follow-up. We should make sure that we enforce them, and we make sure that we curb away the so-called the pandemic.
Well, thank you, Bosco Praise. Yes, Cynthia, girls' hostels, girls' halls attract more visitors than actually the male halls and actually hostels. There is this common practice of benching. So, girls, ladies, how are you going to put that at bay? Because you say, look here, we no longer need visitors, we don't need benches. It is a new normal. We don't want COVID in our areas. Yes. No, he's saying that he's surprised I know these things. Of course, I did not jump to come and watch you. I passed through it.
You also visited.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Like my colleague here said it, that we should be responsible to each other. So the moment we are responsible to each other and we know what we want, of course we know we are back in school to make sure we keep in school and not be taken back home. So we should make sure we protect ourselves and protect the visitors that are coming. Yes, tell the visitor that is coming, please wash your hands, put on your mask and come visit us. If you don't do that, then don't. As simple as that.
Well, thank you very much. Of course, also restricting the number of visitors.
Yeah.
So yes, we go to Leonard because this is very, very crucial. Yes, social distancing. Leonard, now there are courses that are cross-cutting. That you find somebody who's doing education, somebody who's doing law, somebody who is doing social sciences. You come together for those particular, and those course units that are cross-cutting, actually, when they are on, it's always the hall or the lecture room is always congested. So how should that be addressed?
Yeah. Now, of course, for example, the questions that are cross-cutting, they're mainly in business, you find economics, those are the questions, and they attract a wide number of students. As Kampala University, now this is why Kampala University is called the original. So we are emphasizing that students who can really embrace online studies could remain on online studies, and other that they are dividing lecturers. So if the question cuts across business, education, and maybe computer science, that each faculty should get its own lecturer to reduce on the congestion in the lecture room. That's how Kampala University is embracing, is going to go about that thing of questions which are cross-cutting, and ensuring that people who have embraced online learning should continue with that, because it is not going to stop.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I can now see really time's not our best ally. But back to Dixon, let's look at the co-curricular, extracurricular activities, sports, MDD, associations and meetings. So how should they be conducted? Because universities, education, the education centers are actually centers for talent development. It's not only about learning in class, it's also about identifying and also developing your talent. So how should people be helped to identify, students anyway, to identify their talents, especially during this critical time of COVID-19?
You see, thank you. You see, one of the most important thing in this activity called sport is vaccination. Because you see, even if I come to the playground, I am vaccinated, or I'm not, and the other one is not vaccinated, then we are joined by so-called spectators, then the technical team. It becomes a mingling saucepan of COVID-19. Therefore, there are two measures, or three. One, to make sure that at least as we prepare to come, make sure you have taken a jab, that is if you have access to the center. Secondly, regulate the people that are going to the field. Because people, you know, sports is about excitement. They'll score a goal, someone will score, then this one jumps, then one celebrates, then they have not tested, they have not. So regulation and strict rules of these centers, especially regulating the many people. For example, at Makerere, we have the Makerere University main ground, the playground. It can host as many people as 4,000. So if those people are not vaccinated and there is no plan to check one by one at the entrance, the mask, and it becomes very, very difficult. So regulation and the SOPs, because the population, the entire population is not yet vaccinated, that means we still have the virus.
Well, yeah, the entire population is not yet vaccinated, though the vaccination is going on.
Yep.
Now, yes, Bosco Praise, chances are that at least by the time, by 1st November, more than 60% of the students will not have vaccinated. How should universities help out on this?
I thank you very much, the moderator. This should be, by the way, an issue that should be tabled by Parliament and different ministries. That is Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health. But by my own perception, and have been thinking about it, is how about the government makes sure before we open up every institution having immunization centers, so that at least even a student that has not taken the jab
can find it at the university.
How about we use the existing systems of students? For example, as you are saying, we have different associations. We have the leadership of the Guild Union. How about the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health pick up several students, train them on how best they would be upkeeping the students? Because some universities, for example, our main campus, we have main campus and western campus. Our main campus, we don't have medical students. But how about we get the existing structures of readers, we train them on how best they have to oversee when, let's say, a student who has signs and symptoms of the virus. So I would really request all universities and the government at large, it should be an initiative that us leaders of the students would come up with and make sure that at least every institution has immunization center.
Well, every institution should have an immunization center. That is very, such a wonderful proposal. I think it will also expedite the number of students that can access or can also get vaccinated, those who have actually failed to get vaccinated. Cynthia, let's also now look at, of course, the issue students have to go to the libraries. Other schools, other institutions have cafeteria that you have to line up for food and so on. So how should this be addressed? Yes. Of course, Makerere and Chambu University, government university. Lining up for food and so on.
Thank you so much. I think the lining up for food and maybe the library, the schools can put the timetables, and they be like, Monday, the year ones are accessing the library. Tuesday and Wednesday, year 3, year 2, then Thursday and Friday, year 3, so that at least they try to reduce. Then for the case of the meals, they can also change the time. They can be like, yes, they can change the time, and they be like from maybe 12. It is this class going for lunch. From 12:30 it is this one, then 1 it is this one, 1:30 this one, like that, so that at least they reduce on the numbers or on the congestion of the students on those areas.
Well, yes, Leonard, let's look at foreign students. Kampala University is one of the universities that attracts a good number of foreign students, and of course we see at times, though that the borders are open in some countries, actually the students, people are not allowed to move out of the country. So how should such students be helped?
Yeah, of course, Kampala University is one of the universities in Uganda that is hosting over 12 nationals that they are coming to study at Kampala University. As I told you earlier, we have to embrace the online studying and everything. Because, as you have said, some countries are not allowing students cross borders. But these are our students that are studying in Uganda. So what we have to do is to embrace online, help them study online and do exams online. And those who can access the borders open, they can come to the university. They are really welcome, and of course we are going to go as expected and follow the SOPs and the presidential directives.
Well, still tuned to UBC TV, and this is Education Forum, where I'm actually hosting students from universities and looking at concerns of students as tertiary institutions and universities set to open on the 1st of November 2021. Now, time is not on our side, and I would beg that each one of us will look into the camera and give us their final take, final word to the audience or to the viewer. I'll start with Dixon. Look into the camera and give us your parting shot, your final shot.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank you for hosting me. There are 2 points I want to make. One is that we still have the virus, and the virus is very, very terrible. It kills. Therefore, we need to be serious in terms of standard operating measures, but also to make sure we access the jabs, the medicine, the vaccine. The second point is to all the students, the fellow students, that as you come to the university or as you prepare to come to the university, make sure you're safe. Yeah, to me, there is nothing more important than life. So if the lives of students are not clear, it means there's no reason why we should open. But also institutions, to make sure the students come and they find when everything is ready and prepared. We don't want to see issues of strikes and other things.
Well, thank you, Dixon Muhwezi. Yes, Bosco Praise, your parting shot.
Thank you very much. I want to thank UBC for the opportunity given to the students, Umbrella. One, as we open up universities and other tertiary institutions of learning, I wish to implore every other student to make sure that you think about your own self before thinking about some other person. The virus kills. We have seen very many people, very many important personnel die during the pandemic, during the lockdown. So it's all about your life, all about your own self, to think about where you want to be in the next future. And another thing is still to re-echo on making sure that all institutions get immunization centers and have the task force. And how about, by the way, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health thinking about getting some, like these leaders we have here tonight, making sure that they empower them to move into different universities and make some checkups. Like we have the task force maybe at national level. We could also have the task force for students' body in making sure that they move all over the country and make sure that we have such kind of immunization and follow-up of SOPs. Otherwise, I thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, Cynthia, your word to that female student who is preparing to report come 1st November 2021.
Yes, thank you so much to my female ladies out there. I just want to inform you or to advise you to keep positive, prepare yourselves, and prepare yourselves ready to come back to school and study. And maybe to the students who had lost hope, maybe who had hated themselves, maybe who thought they could not go back to school when they have gotten married or given birth to kids, I just want to inform you to keep positive and prepare yourselves to come back to school and study, because education is key and it is our tomorrow's future. Thank you so much.
Yes, Leonid, you parting shot.
I'm humbled for the opportunity given. What I want to ensure students around the country is that COVID-19 is real and it kills. So what we have to do is keep the SOPs and the presidential directives, go and get vaccinated, because it is the only way to go that is going to open us, and we be in our new, we go back maybe to our normal times. So go and get vaccinated, and please, students at Kampala University, the original, please wear that mask for me, for your friend, and for the entire country. I thank you very much.
Well, I must thank you very much, student leaders, really, for having this opportunity to come and interact with us here at UBC as we look at addressing the salient issues, looking at the concerns of students as we prepare to open up. I must thank you, Maxon Dixon Muhwezi from Makerere University, Tumuramye Bosco Praise from Kampala International University, Nkahirwa Cynthia from University of St. Joseph Mbarara, and also Tushabomwe Leonard from Kampala University, for really coming to be with us here. Here at UBC, we inspire Uganda, and we also make sure that students, teachers, and all education stakeholders through this education forum come to lay a brick on the development of our education system. Manda Kola Mzima is my name, saying bye-bye.
Akili, this is Akili. She has a secret. Tell us. When the sun goes down, Akili goes to sleep, and she enters a world where all the animals speak. Akili, Akili. But there is something strange about this magic land. The animals speak English which she doesn't understand, but if you help her out, we know it can be done. Akili can learn English and it will be fun. Akili, 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 Akili.
I speak English! Yay!
Akili is so tired after a long day helping her parents feed the animals on the farm. Oh, look! Akili's father has a special book to read her tonight, all about animals on the farm. Oh, this is a special kind of book. It only has pictures, so Akili and her father will have to add the words themselves.
Cluck, cluck, cluck.
Cluck, cluck, cluck!
Moo, moo.
Moo! Moo!
Good job, Akili. You're making the sounds of the animals on each page. Now, Akili, what's this animal?